just first off, can you give everybody a rundown pretty much of your background in MMA?
Oh, a lot of years, a lot of background. But, to be honest with you, I started out, I think, that I worked for everybody.
Okay.
At some point or another. I started out in the business. I mean, when I started out, it was about 12 years ago. I had to work a lot of jobs just to make not even what I would even consider a decent living in this business. I was Boss Rutan's assistant. I was Randy Couture's assistant. I worked for King of the Cage. I worked for Sport Fight. I worked for UFC. I worked for trying to think all through there. I worked for IFL. I worked for Affliction. I worked for Strike Force.
So you've seen a little bit of everybody.
Yeah, I even did one event with WFA because I kind of started out doing some broadcasting in the business. That was where my background was when I first started out. And then, and then I moved over, into the business side of it, and I pretty much worked for everybody.
So,
never worked for Pro League or anything like that, but I mean, I've worked for a lot of different people in this business.
So you've had quite a few years in this.
Yeah, don't calculate on the age, but yes, quite a few years, quite a few.
So how did the idea of doing an all-female promotion come about initially?
When I parted ways with Strike Force and I started kind of evaluating, the industry as a whole and looking at, I know I've said this over and over in interviews, so I just feel like it's repetitive, but I'm not that cookie kind of person. I mean, I like the thrill of the fight, okay? And whether, my fight usually takes outside of the cage, in terms of I like fighting for the betterment of the sport, the equality for the athletes. I'm a huge advocate for the athletes.
Yeah.
So, I've invested all these years working on the male side of the sport, and all of a sudden I started getting all these phone calls from female athletes, and all of them, were very panicked, frightened of what was going to happen if Showtime went away, and Strike Force.
Yeah.
So they were asking for a lot of help from me. A lot of them were even trying, they wanted to be a manager and things like that. Well, I'm not a manager and had never aspired to be one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So just evaluating, where I thought I could make a difference in the sport and, where I thought that, I guess the biggest part was where I thought I could make a difference and really kind of help the sport still move forward.
Yeah.
So that's where it got started.
That was the beginning of it. Where did it, when did it initially go from that idea to churning into actual reality, knowing that this is really happening? I'm pushing forward and we're going to do this.
I would say, I guess, quite frankly, it's going on I started playing around with the idea in May of last year. And, I just kind of dabbled around, taking my time, and, and then I think I really, finally all the lights clicked, everything went, probably end of October, November is when it's okay, full throttle. I took some meetings in Vegas and, I kind of looked at identifying exactly what it was I was going to do. And I think, I just at that point was like, you know what? I don't want to walk that road. I've already been down it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something different. And here's, and then it was off to the races. One of the things in this business is that you'll find, although it's, on the sports side, it's growing and everybody looks at it like it's big.
Yeah.
But on the business side of it, it's very small. It's a very small world. So I was working on this for a really long time, and nobody knew about it.
Oh.
I just kind of laid low and didn't tell anybody what I was doing and built the foundation before I came out and announced anything about it. Because if you think back, when we announced the actual company itself, we also announced an 11-fight card, 11 fights on a fight card, a complete top-to-bottom fight card that's finished.
So
it was, coming out with impact is huge in this business, Everybody says, oh, it's a show.
You dropped everything at once since you were able to kind of keep a wraps on it, like you said.
That's amazing, isn't it? Very amazing.
Was that also from that aspect of the business side being so small? it helped kind of keep what you were doing to yourself, but was that also a blessing as far as it's a small world on the business side? You were able to get in touch with all the females and kind of get the ball rolling a lot easier than the rest of the MMA world?
No, not really. I mean, because, everybody makes that, there's always that distinction, the male side and the female side. But the thing about it is that it's so intertwined. I mean, this is still a male-driven business.
Yeah.
Most of the trainers that train the females are males. So I think the biggest deal is with me, and I know it's terrible to say, but I'm paranoid in business. I always have been. I used to make excuses for it until I realized that, so the biggest CEOs in the world say, and I'll quote them by saying that, it's the paranoid that do survive in business. So
yeah.
I think it was, keeping it quiet and keeping it with me just trying to protect what we were doing and not giving anybody a leg up and knowing.
Yeah.
Because it seems like every time you come across something, you decide you're going to do something, before you can get your foundation built, the word gets out there, and the next thing you know, there's 10 others doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just keeping it quiet and building that foundation, plus knowing that when you come out the gate to make that announcement, that we needed to come out swinging, in terms of, everybody says every day there's a new promotion coming up, a new promotion doing this, a new promotion doing that. The other day I heard about this new one that's doing these teams again with cities,
Yeah.
It's just there's always something, somebody's wheeling and dealing, and, I think I just didn't want to get the heads up of what we were working on. So it's always better to come out and be the innovator instead of the imitator. Do you know what I mean?
Keep it close to yourself, and then you don't have everyone trying to follow in your footsteps before you can get going, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and I think the other thing, too, I've seen over the years, a lot of people get in this business quickly because they think they're gonna turn a quick buck. It's the fastest growing sport, everybody says, so everybody thinks, money, money, money.
Yeah.
And the other flip side to that coin is everybody thinks, it's a quick vehicle to get to, for lack of a better word, some kind of a closer to fighters or some kind of type of celebrityism.
Yeah.
So it not, in my opinion, it was to not tip the hand of the business plan that I was formulating to come out and do something different. And don't get me wrong, we are not the first that's ever tried this.
No. Yeah,
there have been other promotions.
Yeah, there definitely has. I've seen there's, it's Smack Girls and Jules, which tend to sometimes use the gimmicks or change the rules up. It was never pure MMA necessarily. And then you had Hook and Shoot doing a lot of women's shows, but there was never anyone that was just on that model and that's it, making an effort to make it just work for the females.
Yeah, and I think that, I certainly commend them, each and every one of them, because, you're a risk taker and you're going out there doing something different.
Yeah.
It's better than doing nothing at all, for sure. I just think that, they were a little ahead of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is a commitment that if you're going to make this commitment, you have to be prepared to understand and know that success doesn't happen overnight. Slow and steady wins the race, and that's very important. A lot of people don't realize that. You can throw millions of dollars at it, but that doesn't make it successful, and it certainly doesn't create your longevity, that's for sure.
That's very true.
So I think that for us, just looking at that and wanting to take it to that next level, not being that, wanting to actually what I consider put on a top-notch professional show has always been important to me. I'm a real stickler when it comes to professionalism and, how a brand should be represented in our sport, how it should be represented.
Yeah.
So
who, as far as speaking on that, who were the people that were behind you, like your direct crew that have helped you get this far and really given you the support to make this happen and to continue to push on?
Okay, now when you say who's my crew, and there's only two of us in this company at this time.
Okay, so
aside from, we've hired on a PR person, things like that of that nature. But the actual who's the factors, I only have one partner, and there's only two of us that own this company. So, that we're very much in control. My partner, my business partner's name is Janet Martin. So it's Janet Martin and myself.
Okay.
We're the driving force. We're the financing behind it. We're everything.
You guys have you're full control, you too, making this happen.
Yeah, which I think is a very valuable thing at this point in time.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you have control of your product, and I always give props to Dana White, so I think that was probably single-handedly the most important thing that has helped propel their business to where it is today, is that he always maintained control of his product. So
yeah.
if I learned anything, I always give him mad props for that, because it's a very good lesson. I mean, as you've seen with other promotions, that, whether it's the alignment with a broadcast partner or whatever,
yeah.
that when they lose control of that product, then, you're at the mercy of someone else's visions and ideas of what your product should be.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you guys are trying to keep a hold of your business and not overextend yourself from the get-go, which I think dooms a lot of people. They do too much from the start, and like you said, they can't keep control of it. It spirals out of control quickly.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that, we've had interest from, with alignment from other broadcast partners. But I think for us, the biggest deal is giving everyone the opportunity to see what our vision is.
Yeah.
Because you are dealing with females, and there are always those stereotypical ways of promoting, marketing them, I think what we want to do is give everybody a look at what our vision is and what we feel is, important for moving the female side of the sport forward. And, and by jumping in there and aligning yourself with someone, once again, you lose control of that product. Plus, you're selling an idea instead of showing someone what your long-term vision is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we came up with, one of the reasons that, we're bringing in a professional crew, we're filming this, but we're streaming it live, to our website. Not only is it because, we want everybody to have a view of what that vision is, but it also is kind of paying it forward and giving back to all of the people that have supported this side of the sport. We want them to come on the journey with us. We want them to see where we want to take this, and give back to them for that support that they have given.
Yeah.
It's amazing because, you don't see it every day, and if you're really not focused on this side of the sport, which I wasn't previously as well, then, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. But there are a lot of people out there that are fighting this fight, and been fighting it for a long time.
Yeah.
So we want them, no matter where you're at in this world, we want you to be able to click onto our website and watch it, and join us.
Yeah, that's a good thing. There's not, like we spoke on earlier, there's not a lot of outlets for that in its purity.